In 1990, the mayor of Miami gave a cult leader his own official holiday. 30 days later, that same man was arrested for a conspiracy that left more than a dozen people dead. And his empire ran out of the neighborhood GTA 6 says Lucia is from. Grand Theft Auto has always held up a mirror to America. Leonida is its Florida, the alligators, the neon, the Florida man chaos. But the real Florida is darker than the satire, because the real Florida produced an organization that did everything GTA 6 is hinting at: a legitimate empire on the surface, a criminal conspiracy underneath, reaching across the entire state. It was real, it got a mayor's endorsement, and almost nobody remembers it. 3 things: the real cult that built an empire out of Lucia's neighborhood, the pattern that proves Florida has been doing this for over a century, and how all of it maps, detail for detail, onto the GTA 6 world Rockstar has already shown us. By the end of this, Leonida stops looking like fiction. To understand what Leonida is built on, you have to go back to Miami. 1979, a man named Hulon Mitchell Jr. arrives in the city. He's the son of a Pentecostal preacher from Oklahoma. He's been a member of the Nation of Islam. He's studied psychology. He's intelligent, charismatic, and he has a plan. He renames himself Yahweh ben Yahweh. It means God, Son of God. And he sets up in a Miami neighborhood that had just been through hell, Liberty City. Hold on to that name. We're coming back to it. In 1980, Liberty City had been gutted by riots. The community was hurting, and it needed a leader. Mitchell stepped into that gap, and what he built was staggering. He called his organization the Nation of Yahweh. At its peak, it claimed thousands of followers across dozens of cities. But here's the part that matters for GTA 6. It wasn't just a religious movement, it was a business empire. They owned millions of dollars in real estate, apartment buildings, stores, hotels. They sold their own branded products, drinks, beauty supplies. The followers generated the money. They lived communally, in a complex with a name you could not make up if you tried: the Temple of Love. From the outside, this looked like a success story, a self-made empire lifting up a neighborhood the city had abandoned, and the city noticed. In October 1990, the mayor of Miami declared an official day in his honor, Yahweh ben Yahweh Day, a cult leader, honored by the city, with his own holiday. 1 month later, he was in handcuffs, because underneath the empire, underneath the real estate and the branded drinks and the civic honors, there was a body count. Prosecutors alleged the organization was tied to more than a dozen murders in Dade County. Some of the victims had left the group. Others, prosecutors said, were chosen at random, killings meant to prove loyalty, and one of the enforcers was a former NFL player, a man who had played in the league, confessed to 7 killings, and testified against the organization for a lighter sentence. In 1992, Yahweh ben Yahweh was convicted, not of the murders directly. He was acquitted on some counts, but of conspiracy. The federal racketeering law, RICO, the same statute built to bring down the mafia. He served 11 years. Now step back and look at the shape of that story. A man builds a legitimate empire. Real estate, businesses, a literal day named after him by the government, and underneath it, a criminal conspiracy the public never saw, brought down only by someone on the inside who talked. And here's why that should make you lean forward as a GTA player, because that exact shape, the empire that's a front, the conspiracy underneath, the insider who brings it all down, is the story Jason and Lucia are about to be standing in the middle of. This isn't a history lesson, it's a preview of what's hunting them. Pause the conspiracy. If you've made it this far, you're not watching for the trailer, you're watching for what's underneath it. So I wrote down what's underneath. 25 gangs, 56 pages, every crew that could be running Vice City when the game drops, Cuban crime families, Haitian street collectives, soccer moms running pills out of minivans, eco-terrorists, a megachurch laundering ties through prosperity gospel. It's called Vice City Underground, Volume 1 of the Lore City Archive. Link in the description. Where were we? Here's what makes this more than one strange story. The Nation of Yahweh wasn't a one-off. Florida has been producing organizations exactly like this for over a century. It's a pattern, and the pattern is the reason Leonida feels the way it does. Go back even further. 1894. A man named Cyrus Teed, a physician, claimed he had a divine revelation in his laboratory. He renamed himself Koresh, declared himself a messiah, and led his followers into the Florida wilderness to build a perfect society. They called themselves the Koreshans Unity, and they built a real functioning community in Estero, Florida, a bakery, a store, an orchestra, a printing press. But at the center was a belief that tells you everything about Florida's appetite for the strange. Teed taught that the entire universe existed inside a holosphere, that we live on the inside of the earth, looking in. And he didn't just preach it, he tried to prove it. The Koreshans took surveying equipment to a Florida beach and ran experiments to demonstrate the earth curved upward, not down. A messiah on a Florida shoreline, measuring the horizon to prove the world was inside out. That's not Florida Man. That's Florida Man, 100 years before the meme existed. Now jump forward to the 1970s. Miami Beach, a religious group called the Ethiopian Zion Coptic Church. On paper, a church. In practice, one of the most significant marijuana smuggling operations in the region, religious cover, criminal enterprise underneath. And if that sounds familiar, it should, because that is Brian Heder's entire world, the classic Keys drug runner from the golden age of smuggling, the respectable front, the product moving underneath. Rockstar didn't invent that character. Florida ran it for real, out of a church, 50 years ago. So look at the pattern. 1894, a utopian commune in the wilderness. The 1970s, a smuggling empire behind a church. The 1980s, a real estate empire hiding a murder conspiracy. 3 different eras, 1 state, 1 recurring story. The respectable surface, the dark machine underneath. That's not a coincidence Rockstar is borrowing. That's the actual character of the place they built Leonida on. Now let's put the real history next to the game, point by point. Start with the connection that stopped me cold when I found it. The Nation of Yahweh ran its empire out of Liberty City, and Rockstar's official bio for Lucia says she and her mother are from Liberty City. Now, I have to be honest with you, because that's how this channel works. In the GTA universe, Liberty City is the version of New York. That's the in-game meaning. But the real Liberty City, the one where this cult actually built its empire, is a neighborhood in Miami, in the real Florida that Leonida is based on. So whether Rockstar meant it or not, the name carries a second meaning. The hometown they gave Lucia is the real address of Florida's most infamous empire cult. That's the kind of echo Rockstar builds their entire world out of. Next, the smuggling. Brian Heder, a drug runner using a legitimate boatyard as a front. The Ethiopian Zion Coptic Church, a real religious organization running drugs behind a legitimate front. Same model, same state, decades apart. Next, the backwoods. Rockstar's own description of Leonida's Mount Kalaga region, and I'm quoting them directly, says, "Hillbilly mystics and paranoid radicals live far from the prying eyes of the government." Hillbilly mystics, living off the grid in the Florida backwoods, that's the Koreshans. A messiah and his followers, building a separate world in the wilderness, away from the government. Rockstar put the cult tradition directly into the map. They just didn't use the word cult. And here's where all of it converges. Remember Rockstar's official synopsis for the whole game. Jason and Lucia get pulled into a criminal conspiracy stretching across the entire state of Leonida. A statewide criminal conspiracy, hiding behind legitimate fronts. That is not a fantasy Rockstar invented for a video game. It is the documented, court-proven history of the state of Florida. So here's what this actually means for GTA 6. When people say Rockstar's Florida satire is over the top, they have it backwards. Rockstar isn't exaggerating Florida. If anything, They're toning it down. A cult leader with his own city holiday and a dozen bodies behind him, a messiah measuring a beach to prove the earth is hollow, a church running a smuggling empire. Every one of those is real. Every one of those is more unbelievable than anything in the trailers. That's the secret to why Leonida is going to feel so alive. It's not built on imagination. It's built on a real place that has spent over a century being stranger and darker than fiction. And when Jason and Lucia get pulled into a conspiracy stretching across the state, they're walking into the exact story Florida has told over and over. For real, the empire on the surface, the machine underneath, and the two people at the bottom of it who never see the whole shape until it's too late. But a conspiracy this big needs somewhere to hide, and Leonida is enormous. A whole state, coast to swamp to city. The map itself is telling you where the power sits, where the bodies go, and how the whole thing connects. You just have to know how to read it. What the GTA 6 map is secretly telling us about the story